Welcome to the Castle Country Real Estate Podcast, episode number 2. I'm your host, Josh Madsen. It's good to be back with you this week, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about Carbon and Emery County real estate here in Utah. So this show every week, that's what we're doing, giving you a snapshot of this area, what's going on in real estate, what's going on in the general housing market nationwide, and specifically what's going on in this area. And along with that, I'm going to do some real estate hot tips and some events that you can go to locally to support the community. So the best place to start off every week is how many homes are on the market in Carbon and Emery County. So combined between the two counties, we're looking at about 83 homes on the market as of today. Basically the same thing as last week. Nothing's changed a whole lot. And as far as closed properties goes, we had 8 closed properties in the last 7 days. So I think that's up from about 3 from last week. But what we're seeing in general is just more inventory. This is what you're going to be hearing in the future of real estate, probably in the coming years, is more inventory. Meaning there's more houses out there for people to buy, and this is a good thing. The past 2 years has been fairly tight on inventory, meaning there were not enough homes for people that were looking for them. So everybody always wants to know what's going on in the market, and especially when we live in an area like this in Carbon or Emery County, one of the towns here, it's always good to know what's going on. Boots on the ground, right? Someone like me that's a realtor, it's my profession to go out, show homes, help list and sell homes. I'm the one that's out there seeing stuff. So that's what I want to do every week, is be able to share a little bit of information that helps you sort of know what's going on around you. Maybe you're not even thinking of selling your home or even looking to buy a new home in the area right now, but keeping tabs on the marketplace is always important. Just like any investment, you want to know what's going on with your investment and what's going on with other people's investments around you. Simply put, that's your neighborhood. What's going on in the neighborhood? What are houses selling for? And that's the kind of information that we want to get on a weekly basis, monthly basis. So whenever you tune into the podcast, this is what I can offer you is basically some general information about what I'm seeing. So as I was cruising around and showing houses this week, like I was just talking about, more inventory on the market. This has been a fantastic thing for me showing buyers, because one, it's taking a little pressure off of people that, a house goes on the market. We know we've basically got, the last 2 years, we basically knew we got to go today. We've got 24 hours to go look at this property, and then we've got to be able to put an offer together pretty quickly and make it happen. So at least what I was feeling personally this week was I was able to have houses come on the market. Maybe they've been there, a couple days already, and then we got around to seeing them. And it just seemed like the pressure was off a little bit. Probably what would feel like a normal market not too many years ago, but for anyone that's been looking to buy or sell the last couple of years, it was definitely a different story. So as far as I'm concerned, locally, I think this is a really good thing, and it's going to help people take a little bit more time. Don't take too much time yet. There's still a shortage of houses out there, but I think we can start to take a deep breath and leave a little bit more time to go through this process of looking for a home. As far as other general market information from around the country, and this goes for Utah as well, but if you think home prices are going to fall, definitely think again. So over the last 2 years, the rate of home prices shot up dramatically. And while this led to incredible gains in equity, some statistics show that people made almost $60,000 in equity just in the past year. It's phenomenal. I mean, the prices, the home equity for a home owner is fantastic. But really, a lot of people are always wondering, when are the prices going to fall? When is the market going to crash? This is the constant question. Most professionals, most economists that are around real estate don't think this is a bubble. Really what's happened and what caused this was what we were just talking about before. It's a supply and demand issue. So basically, when you don't have a lot of houses in the inventory, so to speak, but you have a lot of buyers that are looking to purchase the houses, it's going to drive the prices up. So the past 2 years, we were seeing a lot of multiple offer situations. We're seeing a lot of cash buyers. very, very well qualified buyers in the market. And also interest rates were fairly low, historically low actually. And that made it so more people could get into the market. So you've got all these buyers on one side and not enough houses. And some of that actually came from the 2008 recession, where it was a housing bubble and it was a real estate problem. But lenders are much more stringent than they were back then. And buyers in general this time around in the last 2 years had more cash to use. So basically higher down payments as well was another statistic we were seeing. And this is what was creating these multiple offer situations where, you might see 10 offers on a house or 20, or I've seen even higher numbers than that. It was pretty crazy. So, but basically what's going on now is, like I said, more qualified buyers, and now hopefully what we're going to see is more supply. So this is kind of what's starting to change, and I think we're going to keep seeing a strong market, although it's probably going to start leveling out a little bit, kind of like I was explaining in the beginning here locally in Carbon and Emery County. I think we're starting to see the beginning of that. So the real question is, where is the housing market going? So maybe you are a current homeowner. Maybe you didn't think about selling in the past couple years, but maybe you just kind of want to keep tabs on things. Or maybe you're a buyer looking to get into the market for the first time. Everyone wants to know where the market's going because it's an important thing, and real estate's a great asset to invest your money in. So even though the softening demand of buyers is happening, appreciation is still happening amongst home prices. So the last 2 years, it was very steep. The demand was creating higher and higher prices, just like I was explaining in the market. You might see multiple offers and whatnot. So the interest rates going up a little bit kind of knocked out a little portion of the buyers that maybe qualified at 3% on an interest rate, but now that we're in the 5 range, maybe they don't qualify any longer. So I think this is kind of what's softening things up a little bit and making it so maybe we're seeing things, like I said, like this week I'm starting to see stuff on the market a little bit longer. Nothing too crazy, but it is softening a little bit. But don't forget, there's still a home shortage in general, and there's still a lot of qualified buyers, sort of this backlog from the past 2 years, people that are still itching to get into a new home or even sell their home. And it's still a great time to sell your home. So price appreciation is still going to keep going up. But from what I've been seeing out there and what I've been reading, is we're probably looking at more leading into single-digit appreciation rather than the double-digit appreciation of like 15, 20, and even more percent annually. So I think that's what we're probably going to be looking at in the coming months and years. So each week I want to do a little real estate hot tip, something to kind of get your brain working a little bit. And I'll probably flip between buyers and sellers and maybe just something in general about real estate, just to kind of keep it interesting. But I wanted to focus on the buyers today and something that I use as a realtor that I think is really important. And that's what I call the buyer's toolbox. So you may be thinking, well, what is that? And I kind of wanted to break it down into a toolbox. Usually has all sorts of different types of tools. And I've sort of alluded to the fact that the past 2 years was kind of crazy being a buyer, right? Because you've got all this competition, and you really needed a toolbox of sorts to craft a really good offer that's going to stand out amongst the rest and get you the deal. So today, even though we just talked about the market sort of softening up, I thought it might be good to just talk about maybe my top 3 tools in my buyer's toolbox. This is the first thing I do when I meet with somebody that's looking for a home. I say, hey, let's sit down in my office. Let's go over a couple things that we can have in our buyer's toolbox before we go out into the marketplace. Because it's like any job. If you're showing up to build a house and you don't have any tools, it's going to be a long, hard road ahead, right? So buying a house is no different. You want to really have the tools that are necessary to make the process a little bit easier. So the very, very first thing that I suggest people do in the toolbox is to have that pre-approval letter from the lender. incredibly, incredibly important. The past 2 years, it almost was to the point, well, it pretty much was to the point where if you put an offer in with no pre-approval letter from the lender, that wasn't going to be picked. I mean, that's just the honest way of explaining it. Is that is such a crucial piece. It's really part of the offer, and it's the thing that's going to stand out more. Also, you want to know what you qualify for safely. You want to know sort of like what the monthly payment might be. All the things that the lender is going to need in order to make that loan happen. And that's also important because we don't want to be out looking for a home that's way out of your price range and maybe it's just not going to work once we actually get into the deal. So tool number one, pre-approval letter. Get with a lender. I mentioned it last week. If you don't have a lender that you trust, or maybe you just don't know any lenders, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to put you in touch with somebody locally that's great, can get you a pre-approval and sort of get us on the path to looking for a home and knowing the parameters that we should work in. So basically the second thing that kind of goes along with that once we have the pre-approval letter is knowing how much liquid cash, if any, that you're using. So there's all sorts of different types of loans. I'm obviously not a lender. I'm not a qualified lender or anything like that. I'm a realtor. And so my job is really to, on the home side of things, finding a home for the buyer, going out and working with the buyer to achieve their dream of home ownership to the best of my ability. But the lender, once we have that pre-approval letter, some of the things that need to go along with that are liquid cash. So cash in the bank and liquid cash is what's going to help you in things like a down payment. Maybe you've been saving up for a long time. Last week I talked about you don't necessarily need 20%. That's sort of a myth that exists. There's other loan programs that allow you to have a lower percentage of down payment. But liquid cash is always good. I brought liquid cash up a lot in the past 2 years because that was sort of this tool that we could implement in an offer because there was a lot of things going on where there was a gap between the purchase price and the appraisal price. It's called an appraisal gap. And so cash to make up the difference and showing that in the offer allowed us to be more competitive and actually get more deals. So you also want to think about your closing costs and maybe anything that you're going to need once you get into the home. Sometimes you've saved up, we're going to get into the home. You don't want to end up with no cash to maybe do the little fix-ups that you want or some paint once you get in. So this is really the second tool that I like to go over with people is what kind of cash do you have and how does it work with the loan that we're going to be using from the pre-qualification, the pre-approval letter, and basically just kind of have that laid out. Again, knowing what tools we have in the toolbox to be able to use at our disposal depending on the situation. So number 3, in the toolbox, we're sifting through that toolbox, all these different things, but this is the third one of the top 3, and that's make a personal tick list about the home that you're looking for. I usually when I go out with buyers, the very first time I meet them, I want to go over what kind of tick lists they have, and I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to achieve checking as many of those boxes as possible. And I like to say, if we can get about 80% of those boxes ticked, that's pretty good. If we get above that, even better. But 80% is kind of a good place to land. It's going to make them, it's a great place to build from. To find something that's 100%, probably unlikely. So I like to start around 80%. So quick kind of recap on that as far as building your toolbox, getting the pre-approval letter from the lender. Number 2 is we're going to know what liquid cash we have to work with. And number 3, we're going to make a tick list of all the dream items that we're going to be looking for in a home. Okay, so to wrap things up, I always like to have a community event that you can attend this week. I mentioned it last week, but this Saturday, so tomorrow, Helper Vibes is back. This is a great vendor event, community gathering of sorts on Helper Main Street. Awesome time. Food vendors, artisans, people selling all sorts of things, arts and crafts. It's a great thing to check out, see people in the community. Maybe you're not from here and you want to come check it out. even better. This is a great place to sort of meet people, literally get the vibe of the area, and it's an awesome time. You'll probably see me down there as well, walking around for a little bit. I always love going down myself. It's an awesome place to experience, and they've been doing it every other Saturday, so it's been great. So check out Helper Vibes on Helper Main Street tomorrow, Saturday, yeah, it's going to be a great time. So I hope to see you there. So thanks for checking out the Castle Country Real Estate Podcast, episode number 2. It's been a lot of fun. I've had fun talking about the market today with you. And you can check me out online if you're on Instagram at madsen.team. It's a great place, kind of chronicles what I'm doing with my buyers and my sellers. Again, more market information during the week. And I always like to throw in those real estate hot tips as we go along. And then also you get to see some of the areas that I'm working in, and you can always get a hold of me there. Also, you can call me direct or shoot me a text, 801-388-4047. Text is a great way to get a hold of me real quick. Maybe you want to know what that house in your neighborhood sold for, or maybe you just want me to do a quick market analysis for you, which is totally free. Reach out, let me know. Simple questions. There's no bad questions in real estate. There's a lot to learn and a lot to keep up on. So feel free to reach out. And until next Friday, I'm Josh Madsen at Real Estate Titans, and thanks for checking this video out.